The last flicker of the neon sign sputtered out, plunging the train station into darkness. Outside, the fog hung heavy, obscuring what little there was to see of Nowheresville. John shivered, pulling his thin jacket tighter around himself. He'd missed the last train home. The station was deserted. Empty coffee cups and discarded newspapers littered the plastic chairs. John checked his watch for the 100th time. Midnight. He ran a hand through his hair, sighing. He was stuck here until morning. He slumped onto a bench, the plastic cold and damp beneath him. The silence was unnerving, broken only by the distant drip of water from a leaky pipe. John closed his eyes, trying to ignore the growing sense of unease that was settling in his gut. A low whistle pierced the stillness, echoing across the empty tracks. John's eyes snapped open. The sound seemed to come from far away, mournful and lonely. The distant whistle faded, leaving behind an even deeper silence. John felt a prickle of unease on the back of his neck. He could have sworn he saw something move in the fog at the edge of the platform. He stood, his heart pounding. "Hello?" His voice came out a nervous croak, swallowed by the thick air. There was no answer, only the rustle of leaves in the wind. Then he heard it, whispering, soft and indistinct, coming from the far end of the platform. It seemed to be coming from multiple voices, yet he couldn't make out a single word. John took a hesitant step towards the sound, then another. The whispering grew louder, but no clearer. He strained to see through the fog, his heart pounding in his chest. As John approached the source of the whispers, they abruptly stopped. The silence that descended was heavier than before, thick with anticipation. The hair on his arms stood on end. He squinted into the fog, but there was nothing there. He was about to turn back when he noticed a faint glimmer on the ground. It was a small gold locket, half buried in the gravel. John bent down and picked it up, brushing off the dirt. The locket was cold to the touch and surprisingly heavy. It was engraved with a delicate floral pattern, but the metal was tarnished with age. He tried to pry it open, but it was stuck fast. Holding the locket in his hand, John felt a sudden wave of sadness wash over him, as though he was holding a piece of someone's broken heart. He slipped it into his pocket, a strange compulsion to keep it. Section 4. Echoes of Tragedy. John continued down the platform, drawn by an invisible force. He reached the end where the platform ended abruptly. Beyond it, the tracks disappeared into the swirling mist. There on the ground lay a pile of old newspapers, yellowed and brittle with age. He picked one up. The date on the front page sent a shiver down his spine. October 16th, 1924, exactly 100 years ago to the day. The headline screamed in bold letters, "Horrific train crash! Scores dead in midnight disaster." John's eyes scanned the article, his breath catching in his throat. The article described a horrific train crash that occurred on this very spot. A dense fog had descended on the town, blinding the train driver. The train carrying passengers returning from a late-night festival had derailed at full speed, killing everyone on board. Section 5. The Iron Spectre. The newspaper trembled in John's hand. The air grew colder, the mist swirling around him like ghostly apparitions. He felt a presence, cold and unseen, watching him. The article ended with a chilling local legend. Locals say the station is haunted by the spirits of those who perished in the crash. They whisper that every year on the anniversary of the accident, a spectral train arrives at midnight, offering the lost souls their final journey home. As if on cue, the ground began to tremble. A distant rumbling grew louder, closer. John's blood ran cold. He could hear the distinct chugging of a steam engine, the screech of metal on metal, but it was coming from the wrong direction. There were no tracks there. Through the swirling fog, a pair of lights pierced the darkness, growing larger by the second. An engine emerged, pulling a line of old-fashioned passenger cars. It was black as night, except for the windows, which glowed with an eerie internal light. Section 6. A Choice to Make. The ghostly train screeched to a halt in front of John, its brakes hissing like 1,000 whispers. Steam billowed from the engine, momentarily obscuring the train from view. When it cleared, John saw them. Faces peered out from every window, their expressions a mixture of sadness and longing. They were all dressed in the fashion of a bygone era, their eyes fixed on John. He recognized some of them from the newspaper photograph. The conductor, a tall, skeletal figure in a tattered uniform, stepped off the train. He held out a bony hand towards John. "Ticket, please." His voice was a dry rasp, like dead leaves skittering across pavement. John stood frozen, caught between terror and an almost magnetic pull towards the train. Did he dare board the ghost train? Or should he run, flee back into the fog, and whatever awaited him there?